Hello and welcome. I am Jonathan Swan, doctoral student of Marymount University, here to provide the proposed defense of my proposed research entitled A Phenomenological Study of Alternatively Certified Elementary School Teachers in One Division in Maryland, Exploring the Preparedness to Teach and Necessary Supports to Retain in the Field. In this video, you will receive a brief introduction to the topic of research, a short discussion of literature review, problem statement, and research questions. The methods of research and conduction and data analysis will also be discussed, as well as timelines for completion and concluding statements. Maryland, like many other states, faces critical challenges of staffing schools with certified teachers. To ensure that most classroom positions are filled by the first day of school, districts hire alternatively certified teachers to fill those positions. Over the past 40 years, many states have increased the number of alternatively certified teachers into their classrooms, including Maryland, where now alternatively certified teachers account for approximately 10% of Maryland's teacher workforce. A 2006 study explained that Maryland wanted to utilize a maximum of 5% of the teacher workforce to being alternatively certified. However, with many educational shifts and challenges such as COVID, the exasperation of teachers leaving the field of education, Maryland has become increasingly reliant on hiring teachers who are alternatively certified. This trend will continue into the foreseeable future. The purpose of this study is to explore the perceptions of alternatively certified teachers' experience in regarding their preparation in the programs and the challenges of teaching and their professional growth within the first years of teaching, and what is needed to support their retention and growth process. There is a growing concern regarding the preparation programs and they are adequately enough to sustain the needs of alternatively certified teachers. Through the literature review, we will see how alternatively certified teachers are not certified through traditional programs and thus do not have the same amount of classroom experience and pedagogical knowledge as traditionally certified teachers do. This study is grounded in adult learning theory and constructivism with a phenomenological approach. This allows the researcher to understand the phenomenon of the lived experience of the alternatively certified teacher. Our literature review begins in the 18th and 19th centuries, where we look at colonial and early American teacher development to identify how teachers were selected and trained. Much of the research consists of strategies smaller communities would use to get teachers into single-room schoolhouses. Changes in the 1900s brought about a major call to action in the establishment of the common school for all children to receive a free public education. The literature also looks at and discusses the development of normal schools because there was a greater call for teacher development. As a responsibility of the states, the literature will identify many of the changes and requirements for teachers throughout the early to mid-1900s. From 1945 to the present, the changes have been educational reforms through the federal government with the launch of Sputnik, ESEA, No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top, and Every Student Succeed Acts. We see variations of the reissuances of these laws, which has layered on various federal regulations to the Institute of Education. Through the literature, we will see the development and growth of traditional teacher preparation programs and how they have changed and how the federal initiatives impact those changes. We also see the birth of the alternatively certified programs, and we take a look at the accountability in these teacher programs and how there is a current call to action for these programs to adjust for teachers who are in or not in the program. Current issues in teacher attrition. We also take a look at how the impacts of COVID-19 and those impacts on the current state of education. Much research has been conducted on teacher licensure programs and the perceived efficacy through a quantitative lens. Yet there are many gaps in the current body of literature that spotlight the need for further qualitative research about alternative certification programs and their effectiveness and efficacy. The educational field has significantly changed in the past 25 years. A second consideration is that there is a limited amount of phenomenological research available on the needs of Maryland alternatively certified teachers specifically. In fact, there is none. Two of the most recent phenomenological studies were completed in 2025, and they were conducted in states other than Maryland. This study is needed to add to the expanding body of knowledge regarding the preparedness of alternatively certified teachers in the field. Additionally, this study is needed to contribute to conversations of teacher retention in a state school system and local school system and a school because of these increasingly utilized pathways to hiring teachers. We need to make sure that these programs are preparing teachers to stay in the field and the realities of teaching. There are four major research questions that will guide this study. The focus group and semi-structured interview questions have been aligned with the four overarching research questions. The focus group and semi-structured interview protocols were piloted prior to the start of the study with a group of alternatively certified teachers who are teachers in the elementary field and have been teaching for more than 5 years. In deciding the methods of research for this study, this is a qualitative study that will be employing the hermeneutic phenomenological process. This study requires this method because of the need to understand the lived experience, in this case, the preparedness for a teacher in the classroom who has an alternative certification into teaching. I'm looking to synthesize from the whole and break it down into parts and then look at the parts to gain a new understanding and then connect all that back in the whole. This process can be compared to the zoom feature of a camera, zooming in, looking at the intricate details, and pulling back out for the wider narrative. This is the emphasis and the idea behind the hermeneutic circle. I've been in education for 27 years and I've worked with alternatively certified teachers and helped them prepare to teach. Some of the biases I may have is a preconceived understanding of what I'm expecting them to say to stay in education. So before I conduct any of my research, I will be sure to journal and write about my biases. This research project has recently received IRB approval. For my recruitment, I'll be looking for 12 to 15 participants, and my strategy will be twofold with a combination of convenience sampling and proposive sampling, because I do have specific criteria that my participants must meet. They must have been certified through a Maryland alternative certification program and currently in their second year of teaching after they have taught in their first year. As previously mentioned, the data will be collected and transcribed through focus groups and again with semi-structured follow-up interviews. Both the focus group and interviews will be conducted over Zoom to meet the time constraints of the research project and improve flexibility for scheduling and access to meeting space. This project will use purposive sampling, as there is a criteria that is required to be a part of the focus group, including a teacher who has an undergraduate degree in a field that is not educationally related, a teacher who has not had any prior full-time classroom teaching experience in the K through 5 setting, a teacher who is currently a full-time teacher in their second year of teaching and has received their standard professional certificate, and a teacher who has completed a Maryland Alternative Certification Preparation Program, which includes completing the coursework in student teaching through an internship in an elementary classroom with a veteran teacher. Convenience sampling is also being used as participants will be selected within the district that I'm working, but I am not a direct supervisor of. Potential implications include a positive contribution to the field of education and continued development of curriculum and resources to support these teachers. Here's the IRB approval, and the approval from the district is pending. With my data analysis, I will immerse myself in the data by reading and reviewing the data collection. Prior to coding, names and other identifying characteristics will be removed to reduce the opportunity for any identification of the participants to be made. Heidegger explains that human beings are part of the world engaging in acts such as dealing, interacting with, consuming, producing, and relating to taking care of something. To get the meaning of participants, I have to access their dealings through the real world and use that as a starting point. Therefore, the data analysis, I have to read individual focus groups and interviews entirely to understand their perspectives. The next step in analyzing the data is to generate my preliminary meaning units based on the research topic. These are classified as allocation pieces of data that reveals a feature or trait of the phenomenon being investigated. Next, I will continue and move from the preliminary meaning units and develop final meaning units for the focus group in each interview. These final meaning units or themes are informed by my participants, and under this strategy, I will be making sense of the attestations, and that's the key to determining the meaning of their experiences. Together, all of these will bring together the essential themes of this phenomenon. In the fourth step, this process will be to synthesize final meaning units and situational narratives, and through this analysis, each participant's story is organized into groups, and they're highlighted thematically using direct quotes from the focus groups and interviews. The fifth step will be to synthesize the situational narratives and general narratives, integrating the major themes, and this process unifies the participants' experience. In the final step of the data analysis process, I will be researching the themes that were present through all the participants and their experiences. This is a step away from the everyday perspective so that I can unite the major themes and general description. Presently, the timeline is to finalize and receive district approval, recruit the participants, and receive participant consent. Between December and January, I will be conducting the focus group and follow-up interviews, analyzing the data, completing the data analysis, and beginning my Chapter 4 and 5. Between February and April, I will be finalizing Chapters 1 through 5 and preparing for the defense. In conclusion, this research intends to eliminate, interpret, and identify needs for Maryland's alternatively certified teachers in one district to stay within their profession. Here are some references and appendices. Thank you.